Mga idol at kabayan, China, huling nagsinungaling. Ayon sa China, sila daw ang kumuha ng floating barrier, hindi ang Pilipinas. Naku po, itong China talaga. Ang daming palusot. Una sa lahat mga kabayan, inilagay ng China ang floating barrier at inangkla ito sa bukana ng Baho de Masinloc kung saan kinumpirma din ng Chinese Foreign Ministry na ito ay para hindi makapasok ang mga barko o mga mangingisdang Pilipino sa loob ng Baho de Masinloc nang pinutol ng Philippine Coast Guard ang barrier at tinanggal ang angkla nito sa utos ng Pangulong Bongbong Marcos Jr. Tsaka palang napag-alaman ng China na ang kanilang floating barrier ay wala na sa tamang pwesto nito. Doon pa lang, umaksyon at kinuha ng China Coast Guard ang kanilang harang dahil umaksyon ang Pilipinas. Bilang patunay, nagkaroon ng press conference ang Philippine Coast Guard sa pangunguna ni Commodore J. Tarella at ipinakita sa publiko ang kanilang kinumpiskang angkla ng Chinese floating barrier. Panoorin ang video.
Dito, attorney. Dito.
Ito yung pinutol.
Oo.
Ito yung pinutol. Made in China yun. Tatakang made in China.
Okay na tayo, attorney. Okay na tayo? Okay na tayo. Sige. Okay. Yesterday, the Philippine Coast Guard, together with the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources, conducted an MDA flight. We departed Manila around 8:20 in the morning. We arrived at the vicinity of Baho de Masinloc around 9:20. We conducted, as I said, it's an MDA flight, Maritime Domain Awareness Flight. For more than an hour, we flew over the vicinity of Baho de Masinloc, and we were able to monitor the presence still of three China Coast Guard vessels, two of which are inside the lagoon of Baho de Masinloc. The other one is patrolling outside the vicinity of Baho de Masinloc. There's also a presence of one Chinese maritime militia vessel. For the Filipino fishing vessels, we were able to saw two Filipino fishing vessels still engaged in fishing during that time. And during the entire duration of the flight, we were challenged by the Chinese Coast Guard 6 times over the radio. And probably you also want to hear whether there is still a presence of a floating barrier at the mouth of the entrance of Baho de Masinloc. I would like to inform everyone that upon our verification for this particular MDA flight, there is no more floating barrier at the entrance of Baho de Masinloc. And I'll also be showing to you, this is the anchor of the floating barrier that we cut when the Chinese Coast Guard placed the floating barrier last September 20. From the photos of the barrier, you can see that this is actually the rope, no? Nakakonekta yung floating barrier. So what we did is that we never really took the barrier, no? We just cut the anchor of the barrier. So we don't claim, the Philippine Coast Guard or the Philippine government doesn't claim that we are the ones who removed the barrier. What we did is we cut the anchor of the barrier. The reason why you have to cut the anchor of the barrier is that because for each end of the floating barrier, there are 2 anchors, no? Sa dulo niya para hindi siya ma-drag ng current and the wind, no? What we did is we cut the anchor on the other end so that it will still be it will be widely open kasi papad pa rin yung barrier. And after the Chinese Coast Guard realized that there is no more anchor kung saan hindi niya na nahaharangan yung mouth ng Baho de Masinloc, that's the time that they also recovered the entire floating barrier. So I'm open for your questions.
So where are now, sir, these floating barriers? You said that you have already recovered them, so where are they?
No, we didn't recover. It's the Chinese Coast Guard who recovered their own barrier. What we only did is we cut the anchor and we took the anchor with us.
They only have one anchor.
It has 2 anchors
So where's
for
the
each.
other?
Hindi, isang nga lang yung kinat namin, ma'am. Para ang mapadpad lang is yung kabilang side. Yes.
So, which means that they had no choice but to remove the barriers.
I cannot speak for them what are their choices, whether they have spare anchor or what, no. But definitely, when they learned that floating barrier is no longer serving its purpose, that's the time that they recovered the entire floating barrier.
Commodore, plano niyo bang i-surrender yung anchor sa China or sa Chinese embassy?
I think for that particular decision, it has to be advised by the Department of Foreign Affairs. But of course, we also intend to forward this evidence to the National Task Force West Philippine Sea, wherein the Department of Foreign Affairs, the Department of Justice, all concerned government agencies are part of. So it's up to the guidance of our National Security Advisor, the chair of the NTF-WPS, regarding the decision of the entire body. Whether it's DFA or DOJ, we still don't know. But definitely, it's not the Coast Guard who's going to decide on it.
Pero sir, walang communication from Chinese embassy to recover the anchor.
So far, hindi pa naman kami nasasabihan na isole.
Sir, but what does it mean? When you sinabi niyo pong wala ng floating barrier, does this mean fishermen can move closer to the entrance of the shoal? Ano pong kahulugan nito na wala ng harang?
Well, we can probably say na this is a symbolism na kasi as we all know, no, they have been doing this kind of behavior, placing the barrier for so long a time na, no. Even their statement, they mentioned they have always been putting this floating barrier para hindi makapasok ang mga Filipino fishermen dito. So on our side, I think what the president did in giving us instruction to remove the barrier is to show the Filipino people and also to show the world that the president is really sincere with his commitment that we're not going to surrender any square inch of our territory to any foreign power. With this action of the national government, I think that's the most important thing that we have already showed the world.
Sir, the President mentioned this today during an ambush interview that during that day when the barrier was removed, the fishermen were able to catch over 100 tons of fish. So right now, are we expecting that more fishermen could go inside without any hindrance and they could catch more of those fish?
Well, to support the statement of the President, according to the estimate of the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources, the total estimated fish catch during that time is 168 tons. Teka lang, may lang ako. 168 tons. And I suppose more Filipino fishermen will already be motivated to go to BDM para dun mangisda. And this is something na hinihikayat ng ating pamahalaan.
So just to be clear, so our fishermen can now go inside the lagoon to fish.
Well, I wouldn't lie to you, no. It is still a struggle for the Filipino fishermen to be able to enter the lagoon, no. As I said, as a result of our MDA flight, there are now 2 China Coast Guard vessels guarding the lagoon, no. So, if the Chinese Coast Guard would really push hard for our Filipino fishermen not to do fishing activity inside the lagoon, of course they can do that, no. So,
At some point between when you were able to cut the floating barrier and now, some of them were able to go in.
I suppose so.
You suppose so, or so that's not confirmed?
Well, as I said, we were able to document a fish catch of a total of 168 tons.
Okay.
But on the succeeding days, were you able to document also?
In, I want to be candid with you, no? Hindi na rin, no? Kasi, as I said, the BFAR during that time was there to monitor the volume of the fish catch. Pero, of course, when we left, the Coast Guard and the BFAR left, I cannot speak for the next coming days, whether they have already consistently catch the same volume. Like, for example, yesterday, there were only 2 Filipino fishing vessels who were engaged in fishing when we did the MDA flight. So definitely, the 168 tons volume of fish catch when we did this patrol is different from the volume of their catch yesterday.
So those two fishing vessels, they're inside the lagoon.
Hindi.
Where?
No. Some of them are outside. Etong dalawa na pinag-usapan natin. Huwag tayo malito muna, no? Let us first clarify. These 2 Filipino fishing vessels that we saw are outside the lagoon.
Okay, but when the BFAR vessel was there, so just to be clear, so that we can be accurate, the 168 tons of fish that they were able to catch were from inside the lagoon or from outside?
As I said, Barnaby, this, I'm not saying that the 54 fishing vessels that we declared are inside the lagoon. What I'm saying is that as far as the estimate of the national government and BFAR, there were 168 tons. But I'm not claiming that those in all Filipino fishing vessels, when we cut the barrier, nandun sila sa lagoon.
Not some of them?
As I said, the 168 tons was the volume that they catch.
But at least they were near the lagoon, not necessarily inside the lagoon.
Yes, not necessarily inside the lagoon. Whether they're inside the lagoon, I cannot confirm or deny that. But the mere fact that they were able to catch 168 tons of fish is something that we should really be happy about and to celebrate about, knowing that there are more Filipino fishermen now are engaged in fishing in Baho de Masinloc.
Laban Pinas.